So today, we will discuss about factoring perfect square trinomial. So if you recall our lesson on special products, the square of a binomial is equal to a perfect square trinomial. And these patterns can be used to help you factor trinomials. So dito, kahit hindi tayo gumamit ng FOIL method, we can easily identify the product of this square of binomial. So all we have to do is to square the first term, which is x times x is x squared. Then, ita-times natin yung two terms, x times y, xy, times 2, 2xy. Para makuha natin yung pinaka-last term, all we have to do is to multiply the last term by itself. So, y times y is y squared. So, the same thing din kapag negative, x times x, x squared, x times y, x times negative y is negative xy, times 2, negative 2xy. Then, for the last term, all we have to do is to multiply the last term, y times y is y squared. So ngayon, paano ba natin pina-factor ang mga perfect square trinomial from this? Magiging ganito. Okay, so ang gagawin lang natin is just simply focus sa first and sa last term. So first, get the square root of x squared. The square root of x squared is x. Then since parehas sila ng sign, magiging positive. Then, get the square root of y squared. And the square root of y squared is y. Then, maglalagay lang tayo ng raised to 2. Quantity raised to 2. So, the same din dito. We have to get the square root of x squared, which is x. Then, since magkaiba sila ng sign, we have negative. Then, the square root of y squared is y. Then, maglalagay tayo ng quantity squared. Okay, so meron tayong example here. Now, how do you recognize a trinomial that is perfect square trinomial? So, ito yung mga kailangan mong tandaan. A trinomial is a perfect square trinomial if the first and third terms are perfect square. So, dapat yung pinakaunahan and then yung pinaka-last are perfect squares. So, if we are dealing with the variables, dapat yung exponent niya are all multiples of 2. Dapat divisible by 2. And then, for the second one is the middle term is plus or minus. Can be plus or minus. Twice the product of the square root of the first and third term. So, ibig sabihin, ano bang square root ng x squared? Ang square root ng x squared ay x. Ang square root ng 1 ay 1. And then, imumultiply daw natin to. Then, times 2. Sabi dito, twice. Okay, so, x times 1, x, times 2, 2x. Okay, so it can be negative or positive. Sabi nga dito, plus or minus. So, ibig sabihin, since our first term is perfect square, the third term is also perfect square, and the middle term is twice the product of the square root of the first and the third terms. Therefore, ito ay perfect square trinomial and we can easily factor this. So, paano natin pinafactor to? So, tulad yan sinabi ko, all we have to do is to focus on the first and last terms. Okay, so maglalagay tayo ng quantity squared. So, lagi may ganyan. Okay, ngayon, x squared. What is the square root of x squared? That is x. So, paano ko nakuha yung x? Just simply divide the exponent into 2. So, 2 divide 2, x na lang matitira. So, since magkaiba sila ng sign, we have negative sign. And now, katapos nito, sa last term naman tayo titingin. So, what is the square root of 1? The square root of 1 is 1. And this is our final answer. For our second example, we have 9a squared b squared minus 6ab plus 1. So, first, bago tayo mag-factor, let's identify kung perfect square trinomial ba ang equation natin and how do we know that? Perfect square ba ang 9a squared b squared? Yes. Ang 1 by perfect square? Yes. And then get the the square root of first and last term, then multiply it by 2. So the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 9a squared b squared is 3ab, then multiply it by the square root of the third term, which is 1, and then times 2. So laging may times 2. Okay, so 3ab times 1, 3ab times 2, 6ab. So yung sign dito, it can be negative or positive. But in this case, negative yung naging, yung naging sign niya. So now, napatunayan na natin na perfect square trinomial to. Pwede na tayo mag-solve. Okay, so maglalagay tayo ng close and open parenthesis, then put squared. So what is the square root of 9a squared b squared? The square root of 9a squared b squared is 3ab. So the square root of 9 is 3. A squared, i-divide nyo lang sa 2 yung exponent. The answer is A. Yung b squared, dinivide ko lang sa 2. Naging b na lang. Since magkaiba sila ng sign, ang mangyayari ay magiging negative. Then get the square root of 1, which is 1. And this is our final answer. Kailangan sa first and last lang kayo titingin to factor the perfect square trinomial. So itong number 3 is also an example of perfect square trinomial because p squared is perfect square, 25 q squared is also perfect square, and then yung 10p squared is equal to the twice of the product of the square of the first and the third term. So therefore, we can use factoring perfect square trinomial. So, paano nga ulit? Maglalagay tayo ng open and close parenthesis, then write squared at the top. So, p squared. Ano ba ang square root ng p squared? That is p. So, dinivide ko lang yung exponent into 2. So, p na lang yung natira. Then, since pareha sila ng sign, we have positive. Then get the square root of 25, which is 5. Then, what is the square root of q squared? That is q. Dinivide ko lang yung exponent into 2, kaya naging q. So, wag kayong titingin sa middle term, kapag gusto nyo mag-factor ng perfect square trinomial. Sa first and last term lang kayo titingin para makuha nyo yung factor. So, for our last example, we have x raised to 4 plus 10x squared y cubed plus 25y raised to 6. So, perfect square ba ang first and last term natin? Yes. And then, yung middle term, nakuha ba siya sa pagta-times twice ng perfect square root ng first and last term? Yes. So, pwede na tayo mag-factor. So, paano mag-factor? Maglalagay lang tayo ng open and close parenthesis, then squared. X raised to 4. I-divide natin sa 2 para makuha natin yung square root. That is x squared. Okay, x squared na kasi 4 divide 2, 2. So, since pareha sila ng sign which is positive, magiging positive ang sign natin sa gitna. Next, get the square root of 25, which is 5. Then, y raised to 6, i-divide natin yung exponent into 2. So, 6 divide 2, the answer is 3. And this is our final answer. So, again, saan nga ulit kayo titingin? If you want to factor perfect square trinomial, first and last term, para makuha nyo ito.